All right, guys, our next guest is one of the pioneers of MMA. You'll know him from UFC, WWF, and Bellator. He just had a big fight over the weekend, and he's come on to Submission Radio to have a chat about it. Ken Shamrock, welcome back to Submission Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's great to have you on so quickly after your fight. You know, this Bellator event, we mentioned you had a big fight, 2.4 million viewers. That's pretty big. The event was a huge success. You know, you helped the UFC grow its fan base when you fought Tito, and now you've done it for Bellator. How do you feel when you saw those numbers?
Well, I feel good. You know, like I said, I did it in Japan with the Pancreas Organization. I was also a big part of the Attitude Era with WWF. They were having problems and helped build that. And then they had to be able to do it in the beginning of the UFC and now also in the later UFC. It's pretty cool, man. I'm glad to be able to be a part of that. And I tell you, the biggest thanks, and I guess we should be more thankful to the fans because the fans are the ones that really make this happen.
Now, let's talk about the fight. You got into really fantastic shape for this fight. Your official weight was 204.4 pounds. The fight was scheduled to be a heavyweight fight. Did you realize that you'd be coming in so light, or was it a surprise to you as well?
Well, I try to put weight on. I struggled with it, but it was what I weighed. My intensity in my training was definitely very high. And I tried to put weight on. I was packing in food for 5 to 6 meals a day. And I just couldn't seem to get up over 212 pounds. And I thought I would weigh about 215 coming into the fight. But on that last week of the fight, I lost 5 pounds for whatever reason, or traveling or whatever. But I stepped on at 204. I was really surprised. I thought I'd be somewhere between 210 and 212. But it didn't bother me at all because I knew the shape that I was in. I was in the best shape that I've been in 10 to 15 years. And I knew that this was my fight going into it, and I felt real comfortable.
I'm just curious. You know, you say you were putting on weight. How much did you weigh before you started? Before you started putting on the weight, how much did you weigh?
Yeah, I was about 215.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about the fight. I mean, it was a very close back-and-forth fight on the ground, obviously finished in the way that Kimbo won the fight. A lot of people are wondering, on the ground, it looked like he had a choke. He had a choke on Kimbo. Obviously, you're a master submission artist. What went wrong? Why couldn't you finish Kimbo on the ground?
Well, and it's frustrating to me, too, because even when I look back on it, I just can't believe I couldn't finish it. And it really was just basically the excitement, you know. It felt like I was dominating him. You know, I controlled his wrists in the clinch. I controlled his body in the clinch. I controlled the takedowns. I was able to take him out pretty easily twice. And then he gave up his back, and I put my hooks in, and it just felt everything was easy, and I felt stronger. And instead of just working and using technique, when I threw the choke on, immediately when I threw the choke on, I tried to use power and strength just to choke him out. It was just overexcitement, you know. I got positioned where I wanted, and I was going to finish it quickly, and you know, I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, you know, trying to squeeze it on there, and then not being able to, when I was squeezing it, not being able to balance myself on his back to make sure that I stayed up in case he wanted to come up. And you know, it was just stupid mistakes. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. You know, I look back on it; it was idiotic and dumb, but you know, I'm human. And I went in and I did the best I could. I made a mistake, and I paid for it.
When we spoke to you a few months ago before the fight, Ken, you said to us in the past that Kimbo has never been a good striker. During the fight, you didn't throw any punches. What was the game plan going into that fight? Was it to take Kimbo down straight away?
Yeah, you know, I mean, all the things I'm saying and doing going into the fight was basically get Kimbo not to know what it is I was going to do. You know, I didn't want to have a thought process of what I was going to work out or what I was going to be doing. And so I stayed away from any other stuff that would implicate that I was going to take him down, even though everybody said that was the best thing for me to do and I needed to do it. But I wanted to make sure when I shot in that I had all the advantages. And I did that. I basically kept it quiet. And, you know, my shots were really good. The technique on them were really good. And I got where I wanted to. Bottom line is this, though. When I got where I wanted to, I couldn't finish it. I made a mistake.
There was a moment in the fight where you and Kimbo were in a wrestling clinch. The two of you had your ears and mouths close to each other. Many people speculated there was some talking going on. I think Kimbo said he was doing a bit of trash talking. What exactly was said between you two during that moment?
That's correct. There was talking when I had his wrist, and it was after I took him down the first time. We got back up, and I had him front face lock, and I had his wrist controlled. He told me to let him go. Let me go. Let's bang. And then I kneed him in the face on a side when I had it. And then he goes, is that all you got? And I said, no, baby, I got something else for you. And that's when I took him down and got his back and tried to choke him out.
Wow. I think the whole world watching was so surprised, Kimbo, because he's just never been known for any grappling, really. Were you surprised, that he managed to escape that rear naked choke when he lost position?
Listen, Kimbo didn't escape it. What happened was I went through the choke, and I tried to slip the choke in tighter. And when I did that, I turned my body sideways on his back, and I slipped off. It wasn't what he did. It was what I did. It was my mistake. Nothing that he did, because he didn't do anything other than let me fall off his back.
Mm-mm.
It's interesting because I think you might have mentioned that you felt like Kimbo might have tapped at one point, and he was doing an interview post-fight where he said he actually went out a little bit during the part where you had the choke on. I mean, did that play into any of the point of you slipping off his back? Did you think he had him and he tapped, and then you lightened up a little bit on the choke? Is that what happened?
Listen, I'm not getting that. My job was to finish the fight. My job was to fight, and so that's that. I'm not going to get into pieces, you said.
All right, well, yeah, sure. I mean, the fight's in the books. It's all happened. We have to ask you, Ken. It was a monumental event for Bellator. There are a lot of people who have accused the fight of being fixed. There are people that have said the fight looked fake, including UFC commentator Joe Rogan. I'm just very curious. I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, but what do you say to those people?
Why in the world would someone in Joe Rogan's position spout off something like that when there's no proof? When it's a speculation of his thoughts, of what he thought, that could literally ruin somebody's career. That's like me going out there and telling his wife that he cheated on his wife, yet I don't have any proof, but someone just said something. Those are things when you say it, it's being in a professional position where you have the people's ears, and you have a responsibility to make sure that whatever you say, you can back up, that you can prove, and not just say it because you think it, because you'll ruin people's lives on something that you have no proof. And he's wrong what he's saying. He's wrong what he's saying, and therefore he could have ruined my career and my life on what he's saying where there's no proof to it.
And I mean, now that you're on a program listened to by a huge MMA community, it's a great pathway for you to tell them definitely 100% the fight was not fixed. Is that right, Ken?
I swear on everything that I love, my family, my God, everything that I love, that fight was not fixed. And the people that are saying, and they're saying it because they're angry, or they lost a bet because they bet in Vegas, or they're just trying to be hurtful. That's it.
Well, there you go. You've heard it from the man himself. Now, you've got your film coming out, The Greatest Fight, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But, after a fight like this, we've got to ask, what's next for Ken Shamrock in terms of fighting? Will you fight again?
Absolutely. What I did in that fight, if you look at the body of work that I did, it was completely domination over a guy that was supposed to be stronger than me, a guy that was supposed to be bigger, stronger. And obviously, you look at what happened when I signed to do the fight. A lot of these same people that are saying the fight was fixed, almost all of them said I should have never been in the ring. I'm 51, I'm too old, I can't compete at that age. And now they're saying I can't lose. Now they're saying there's no way I could have lost. So I'm really confused on these guys and the way they think, because one minute I can't fight and I shouldn't be in the ring, and the next minute I can't lose. So make up your mind. I put a lot of work in training to get myself in shape. I was out of the ring for almost, 5 to 7 years. I can't even remember, but a long time I've been out of the ring. And for me to come back and do what I did after being gone that long, I would knock off some ring rust. I was myself back in the ring, go, I am going to be better next time I get in the ring, because it's going to be 7 years before I get back in the ring again. So I'm going to be better the next time I go out. So why would I stop now when I've already put in a great body of work and I can get better?
Well, let me ask you about that, because I don't know if it's been asked of you before, but how did you actually feel? Obviously, training is one thing, then going to the fight, you're saying you were knocking off some of that cage rust. How did you actually feel physically? Did you say you leading up to the fight, you were saying you were in the best shape of your life. Did you really feel that way? Did you feel like a fresher Ken Shamrock as opposed to the Ken Shamrock that fought in 2010?
Yeah, and I felt really good. The only thing that going in there was because I hadn't, really I hadn't shot on anybody in 10 years or however long it was, and I was really be able to shoot, hit people down. So there was a lot of that timing, the timing, the comfortableness of going in there and doing this because it's so long. But as soon as the bell rang and as soon as we started getting going, it was like riding a bike, man. Man, literally I was stronger. I felt like I stopped control the position I was into. And it just felt like, man, I was back. And then even when John stopped it, and I was looking up going, why? What for what reason? But whatever. It happened. Boom. I stood up and I wasn't even ended. I mean, and it was a boom bang fight, we went after. And I wasn't winded. I was ready to rock and roll some more. So my conditioning, my strength, my mental strength, all of that was right there. And I can't wait to get back in the ring, to get after it again, because I believe I could put on bigger and better fights now.
Well, speaking of bigger and better fights, Royce Gracie was interviewed before your fight with Kimbo and mentioned that he'd be interested in a third fight with you, depending on how you go in your fight in Bellator. I mean, you guys have had quite a rivalry. You've had 2 fights previously. Would he be a name that you'd consider coming back and fighting in Bellator?
Listen, I would be all over. I'll tell you, Royce Gracie's the one I want to fight. It's been a long time coming. That second fight that we had, he's always the one saying, well, it was a draw, And I think anybody watching knows it's not. But in my opinion, man, let's do this third one. A whole tour that I'm on right now when I came back was to get fights that were unfinished. And Kimbo, when it jumped up, I got that. Royce has got to be the next one, man. I want that one so bad. But I don't want people to think this either, because if I ever get the opportunity to fight Kimbo again, then I'm going to jump at that. Because in my opinion, man, he got lucky. But whatever. He did what he wanted to fight. I give him props to it. What's it? Come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you had a couple of fights previously with Royce. If you guys did get this third fight, how would you think it'd play out differently? How would you think this third one would be different from your last 2 fights with him?
Oh, man, so much more knowledgeable. When I fought Royce, I was 2.5 years in, and, he had all the experience behind him. And then the training, the education of training, we weren't all there. We were developing these. I developed the sit in the pocket and ground and pound, follow the hips, ground and pound. I developed that in order to fight Royce. So there's so much more of the development that I've had since that time, where I was just learning on the fly. While I was in the ring, I was learning on how to fight, these guys. So now, with all the education that I have and the understanding that I have, there's no way Royce Gracie would be able to go with me like he did then. There's no way. And in my opinion, I'm going to stop him.
Now, Tito Ortiz spoke to the media and said that he knocked back a fight with your brother Frank Shamrock to pursue the title shot. Here's a wild one. Seeing as you and Frank have buried the hatchet and it's a fight the fans have been always wanted and asking for many years, is it a possibility? Could we ever see, maybe now, you and Frank possibly headlining a Bellator card together, you versus Frank Shamrock?
No, like I said, I don't exclude anything. I would never just straight out challenge my brother, but if it was a fight that he wanted or a fight that made sense, then I'd do it, absolutely.
Yeah, certainly. And obviously, no bad blood there. You guys are brothers, but a fan-friendly contest that people would love to see. Now, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about your bare-knuckle boxing. Obviously, last time you were on the program, you spoke to us about putting on a bare-knuckle boxing event on pay-per-view. You were going to be featured on it. There's going to be a bunch of fights on it. What's going on with that? What's the update? Are you still planning on doing this?
Yeah, we're in the process right now. We can't really talk much on a lot of stuff we're working through right now. But, that's definitely going to happen. And we're just waiting to put all the cross the T's and dot the I's right now. So right now it's looking really good. It's something I'm very interested in, no doubt.
Well, it's a perfect timing, Ken, because you're in the spotlight, and obviously your movie just got released, The Greatest Fight. This film has been in the making for 6 years. I'm just curious, what has that been like, and how did you decide to start and undertake a project like this?
Well, it was actually approached by Darren Wilson, who was the producer, and he had found out, that I had some background and I was really struggling in issues, but I turned my life back over to Jesus, and I was walking, and he wanted to kind of capture a person who was going through the ups and downs in this world of fighting, and it started out that way, and then it just morphed into this bigger picture now, and man, what a journey! But at the same time, it was one of the hardest things I had to do, because I had to almost go back and rethink things that had happened. I had to revisit some very, very trauma situations I was involved with. So it was definitely a hard thing, but at the same time, it really helped me forgive and release a lot of that anger and hurt that I had inside of me.
Yeah, certainly. Now, projects often get lost or stopped after a while. I mean, this one took a while, a long, long time to complete. Was there any point during the completion process or while you guys were shooting it that you thought the movie may never be completed or released?
Yeah, I think it was just, I don't know, a few years back after we had shot some stuff, and I had just got done fighting somewhere in the States, somewhere here. And Darren just felt so like depressed, almost like, man, I don't want to see you fight again. Like, I was really in the dumps, and I felt bad, and almost like everything just kind of stopped. And I didn't think the film was going to come out up until recently, when we started doing stuff with Bellator, and then we came up, and he came and talked to me and revisited me and saw the revibrance of Ken Shamrock, and because I had gone through some things, and I really had turned my life over to God and really started following Him, and my life changed. Everything changed. And Darren saw that right away, and he said, man, let's reshoot the ending of this thing. And so as we started doing that, they started being uplifted and excited about it. It's completely different from what they were, a few years back, where it was just dead and flat, like it was depressing. And now he saw a different Ken Shamrock and the emergence of me and all the things that were going on. And so we were able to put the ending together, and it was tremendous, man. I mean, it was really an awesome thing to be able to do with those guys and revisit it and really put an ending to this thing. And it's thegreatestfight.com, man. If you want to check it out, man, go to thegreatestfight.com, check it out, man. I'm telling you, it's a great film, and it's definitely something that a lot of people could either, one, use themselves or pass on to their children or family members.
Wow, there you go, guys. Yeah, definitely check out the website. Ken, before we let you go, we're just going to do what we always do with you, which is the Submission Radio Tap Bat Round. We do it with all our guests. Just a bunch of fun, random questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind, just like word association. So, first question right off the bat. As a fellow former WWE wrestler, what were your thoughts on Bobby Lashley's performance?
Oh, amazing.
Who's someone from Bellator who you see as a big star in the future?
Oh, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about having Road Warrior Animal walk you out of Bellator 138. Why him in particular?
He's fantastic. He's a big, popular, tremendous personality in St. Louis.
Seeing as you're in great shape, would you ever consider coming back for one more pro wrestling match?
Absolutely. I would definitely come back.
Describe your relationship with Scott Coker in one sentence.
Straight up friendly.
What was your favorite thing to watch on your iPad in your motorhome between training sessions?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. It's the whole thing. Watch anything. My favorite thing to do was to listen to scripture.
You listen to what, sorry?
Scripture.
Scripture. Okay, gotcha. Give us your favorite memory from being on an episode of the hilarious That 70s Show.
Oh, the greatest memory is I give, and I give.
Now, Ken, is there any truth to the rumor that you'll be back in the movie Blood of the Patriot, which is the sequel to the movie Bunker that you were in?
Oh, yes.
Let me ask you, now that the fight's over and done with, do you feel the beef between you and Kimbo is now squashed?
Yes.
Finally, Ken, there's so many exciting things happening in your career. Just name a couple of things. What can fans be excited about and expect from Ken Shamrock in the rest of 2015?
They're going to see something better than they saw in the first 2 fight, they're going to see a much more education, much more relaxed, seasoned fighter going into the ring next time.
Well, there you go, guys. More fights from Ken Shamrock. You guys can follow Ken on Twitter at ShamrockKen. Of course, watch his documentary online at thegreatestfight.com. It's highly recommended. Again, thank you so much for chatting to us, Ken. We really appreciate the time.
Appreciate you guys having me. God bless.